Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of November 18, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifa Muhammad, MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Ogun Toye, an Infantry Officer. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation, focusing on improving tactical positions and inflicting damage across multiple sectors. Ground operations involved 6 main troop groups, resulting in the liberation of 2 settlements, Echelons, Kharkiv region, and Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk region. Encirclement operations and active offensive actions against Ukrainian armed forces formations are ongoing in key urban areas, notably Kupiansk, Krasnoarmysk, and Dmitrov in the Kharkiv and Donetsk regions. Significant losses are reported for the armed forces of Ukraine personnel and equipment, including Western-supplied material. To prevent the opponent from establishing an effective, prepared defense, a core tenet of our operational doctrine stresses mobility and high rates of combat operations. The liberation of these specific settlements points to successful, coordinated pressure from the North and East troop groups.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Ogun Toye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Ogun Toye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel, let's get straight into it. The briefing covers 6 distinct troop groups. Can you first give us the strategic overview? What was the overarching command objective for the day across the theater of operations?
The overarching operational goal remains consistent with the doctrine of active defense and combined arms pressure, to seize and hold advantageous lines and positions while systematically degrading the opponent's combat capability and will to resist. The daily actions are geared towards achieving local tactical dominance which, when compounded, contributes to the strategic outcome. You highlighted the liberation of Echelons in the Kharkiv region and Donetsk in the Dnipropetrovsk region. These are not merely symbolic gains. They represent the consolidation of control over key lines of communication and population centers that serve as logistical or assembly points for the armed forces of Ukraine. When we liberate a settlement, we are not just moving a border, we are denying the enemy a foothold for defense or counterattack, thereby simplifying our own logistics and security posture in the area of operations. Our focus is on maintaining continuous, sustained action.
Let's break down the sectors, starting with the North and West troop groups, which seem focused on the Sumy and Kharkiv DPR areas. The West group mentions improving position along the front line and destroying encircled formations near Kupiansk. What does improving position entail for an infantry officer on the ground? And what are the logistical implications of a protracted encirclement operation?
Improving position along the front line is military parlance for decisive, tactical success, often involving a maneuver offense that results in the seizure of commanding terrain, such as a ridge, a crucial road junction, or a fortified enemy strongpoint. For an infantry officer, it means leading our soldiers to break the enemy's defensive lines, often requiring close-quarters combat and superior fire support coordination to ensure the advance is sustainable. It's about securing ground that offers better fields of fire, better observation posts, and most importantly, improved cover and concealment for subsequent operations. Regarding the protracted encirclement near Kupiansk, this is a classic application of annihilation tactics. The logistical implications are profound, both for us and for the enemy. For the armed forces of Ukraine, their encircled formations are entirely reliant on a dwindling supply of ammunition, food, and medical supplies.
Moving south, the South and Center groups report taking more advantageous lines and improving their tactical position, particularly around the Donetsk People's Republic. The Center group, in particular, cites heavy fighting around Krasnoarmysk and Dmitrov, and the use of assault groups to destroy encircled formations. What is the operational doctrine behind committing assault groups to such a costly urban task? And what are the losses, including the French-made Caesar system, telling us about the armed forces of Ukraine's response?
The operations around Krasnoarmeysk and Dmitrov highlight the inherent difficulty of modern urban combat. In this environment, the overall infantry officer's goal is to break down the large operational problem, the entrenched urban defense, into smaller, manageable tactical problems. The doctrine calls for the use of specialized assault groups, which are highly trained, small unit formations designed for penetrating and clearing buildings, blocks, and industrial zones. They are equipped with organic fire support and are highly coordinated with artillery and UAV assets. We accept that this task is inherently costly, but it is necessary to isolate and destroy pocketed resistance that is exploiting the cover and complexity of the urban environment. The mention of repelling 6 counterattacks near Grishino, which aimed to break through to the encircled armed forces of Ukraine group, confirms the enemy's desperation to rescue their forces, validating our persistent pressure.
And the center group of forces?
The destruction of high-value, Western-supplied assets like the French-made Caesar 155mm self-propelled artillery system is highly significant. It tells us 2 critical things. First, that our counter-battery fire and ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities are effectively locating and targeting these mobile assets, denying the armed forces of Ukraine critical deep strike and fire support. Second, it suggests that the armed forces of Ukraine is being forced to commit these sophisticated long-range systems closer to the front lines than their doctrine would typically dictate, likely to provide urgent fire support to formations that are on the verge of collapse. This exposes them to greater risk and allows our forces to achieve fire dominance by neutralizing their best available indirect fire platforms.
Let's conclude the sector-specific analysis with the East and Dnipro troop groups. The East Group achieved a breakthrough, liberating Nichivka. The Dnipro Group reported neutralizing several Western-made armored vehicles, including a U.S.-made M113. Can you elaborate on the significance of the advance deep into the enemy's defense achieved by the East Group, and how the destruction of Western armored vehicles impacts the enemy's logistical outlook?
The advance deep into the enemy's defense by the East Group, culminating in the liberation of Nichivka, is indicative of a successful penetration operation. This is a maneuver where a powerful combined arms force is concentrated to breach the enemy's tactical or operational defensive zone and exploit the breach to disrupt their rear echelons. For the infantry, this involves the rapid deployment and security of the flanks of the penetration, maintaining momentum to prevent the enemy from reconstituting a continuous line of defense. It's a classic example of achieving superiority in forces and means at the decisive time and place to achieve a local breakthrough.
And the Dnipro Group of forces?
Regarding the Dnipro Group's success in neutralizing Western armored vehicles like the U.S.-made M113 armored personnel carrier, this speaks to the effectiveness of our anti-tank and combined arms fires. The logistical impact on the enemy of losing such material is immense. The M113, while older, is a foundational transport asset. Its destruction is not just a loss of a single vehicle, it represents the loss of protected mobility for a squad of soldiers, a loss that is difficult to replace quickly due to dependence on external supply chains. Furthermore, the destruction of 7 electronic warfare stations in this sector signifies a successful effort to degrade the enemy's command and control (C2) and intelligence sharing network, which is a necessary precursor to further offensive success. Attacking C2 and mobility assets simultaneously is a highly effective way to disorganize the opponent's effort and seize the strategic initiative.
Finally, Colonel, the briefing reports the destruction of 206 airplane-type unmanned aerial vehicles by air defense. This is a significant number. What does this tell us about the current intensity of the UAV warfare being waged by the armed forces of Ukraine, and what are the challenges your forces face in maintaining this high rate of counter-UAV success?
The number, 206 UAVs destroyed, is a stark indicator of the sheer intensity of the electronic and aerial reconnaissance conflict. The armed forces of Ukraine relies heavily on these platforms for real-time targeting, forward observation, and sometimes direct strike capability. Essentially, they are attempting to dominate the immediate airspace above the forward edge of the battle area to deny us the element of surprise and to correct their own fires.
What are the key success indicators?
Our success in intercepting this volume of UAVs underscores the efficacy of our layered air defense system, which integrates both traditional anti-aircraft missile systems and specialized tactical electronic warfare assets. The challenge is sustainment. Maintaining this rate of success requires a massive logistical throughput of interception munitions and continuous maintenance for complex EW equipment, which must be constantly adapted to the enemy's evolving drone technology and flight profiles. For the infantry, every downed enemy drone is a life saved and a tactical advantage preserved, as it hinders the enemy's ability to conduct precision artillery strikes against our advancing formations and logistics hubs. This is a resource-intensive, 24/7 battle for low-altitude air superiority that is critical to the survival and success of our ground forces.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that the high reported losses, particularly of personnel and electronic warfare assets, along with the destruction of Western-supplied heavy artillery, Caesar and L-119, suggest continued AFR engagement of critical armed forces of Ukraine support systems and high-value Western material. Furthermore, the continued targeting of energy and railway infrastructure by aviation and missile forces indicates an ongoing strategy to degrade the armed forces of Ukraine's logistical and mobilization capabilities behind the front lines. The high volume of destroyed UAVs, 206, underscores the intense aerial reconnaissance and strike environment, highlighting the effectiveness of AD counter-UAS capabilities.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater,